Thank you so much. And I'm going to have to talk to you after this because I wouldn't mind thinking of a project where I could drive up and down the interstate instead of getting a job for a while. So thank you. Representing scholarship endowment donors is Mrs. Marilyn Gert. Mrs. Gert, a 1974 Eastern graduate, holds a bachelor's and a master's degree in technology education. While at Eastern, she performed in the Symphonic Winds, concert band, and jazz band. After graduation, she taught industrial arts at high schools in Georgia and Illinois. In 2007, she retired from Woodstock High School, where she taught for 9 years. She still plays saxophone with the Woodstock Community Band. Currently, she is enjoying retirement, remodeling her home, and perfecting her cheesecake recipes, which I'm hoping she's going to test out on us this afternoon.
I'm going to take you on about a 40-year journey in hopefully only 7 minutes. It starts in 1970 when I came to Eastern Illinois University. I wanted to get a teaching degree, and I wanted a math major and a music minor. Well, partway through my sophomore year, I was introduced to calculus. Yeah, you can see what's going to happen here. I decided math was not for me, so I changed my major to industrial arts. There is some logic there, trust me. When I think back on those years that I was here getting my degree, and I think about Eastern Illinois University, 4 things come to my mind. They really stand out. One of them is receptive and welcome. In the 1970s, a female in industrial arts was rare. A female in industrial arts at Eastern Illinois University was non-existent. So IA, the Industrial Arts Administration and the faculty were very receptive to me being in their classes. I ended up being the first female to graduate in Eastern Illinois universities from industrial arts. I used my degree, as has been mentioned, to teach schools, and also I've worked in industry for a while. Second, music, which was also mentioned. In reality, I chose music because I loved it and I happened to be good at it. What I was really good at was reading music and playing my saxophone. Music would become an avocation for me. Thirdly, success. The faculty here at Eastern want students to succeed. At that time, industrial arts majors had so many required classes that they couldn't have a minor. They couldn't find time to fit those classes into their schedule. Well, oops, this created me with some challenges because I still wanted my music minor. To help me accomplish that, I was allowed to take a course overload every quarter that I was here, but it didn't really start until my sophomore year. When I had switched majors, one small detail was overlooked. One of the classes in my industrial arts degree was only offered every 3rd year. That was discovered about the time, about 3 or 4 weeks into the quarter when that course was being offered. That was my junior year. I wasn't in that course. It wasn't going to be offered again while I was here. So the instructor allowed me to transfer into the class, obviously behind, and he worked extra hard and spent extra hours with me so that I could complete that class, succeed, and go on to graduate. Fourth, I can't think about Eastern Illinois University without thinking about Gary Gert. I never know when this will happen. Gary was, at that time, my husband-to-be. He played trombone, he was a music major, and he loved jazz. All types of jazz, all aspects of jazz. Composition, improvisation, just performing and playing. We got married, graduated, and started our careers. Gary taught band in the public school system, but in his spare time, yeah, like teachers have spare time, he performed in many different types of groups, in big bands, dance bands, German polka bands, jazz groups, Dixieland. He lived to play any music, but jazz was his love. Gary also practiced at least an hour a day, almost every day, sometimes to my dismay. But for most of us, to think about practicing every day for at least an hour a day sounds like work. And that was the case for him when he was preparing a piece to be a guest soloist with a group. But the rest of the time, it was not work for him, although it still sounded like work to me because I didn't know anything about jazz and improvisation when I started at Eastern. He would usually turn on a software program that would play the rhythm section for a jazz chart, and then he would just sit there and improvise and play. No music, but he'd do that for at least an hour. I didn't get it because for me, if it wasn't on paper, I didn't know what it was. I didn't know what to do. Well, Gary passed away. He was killed in an automobile accident in 2001. All I could think of was I lost my husband and my best friend. But I wanted him to be remembered. How could I do that? I had no idea. And my brain would not let me think about it. One of the things I realized in hindsight was that when he died, my brain just shut down. I think it's a survival technique. And I couldn't think about what to do. All my brain would let me do was what I had to do to go to work and get through each day, one day at a time. Well, slowly my heart healed. My brain actually opened back up, thank goodness. So for me, it was telling me, what do you want to do now? What's next for you? Well, the top of my list was still, how can I make sure that Gary is remembered? My heart kept saying, he's your husband, he's your husband. But my brain kept seeing and hearing him play. Sometimes we can't see the forest for the trees, but eventually I got what my brain was telling me. His life was music. That was his passion. He was a musician, big, bold, capital letters musician. And he had been that way all his life. He lived for music. I wanted that legacy to continue. Around that time, I received a newsletter from Eastern, and in it, there was an article about creating a scholarship. Oh my gosh, there was my answer. I knew nothing about creating a scholarship, but I knew I wanted to start one in Gary's memory, and I knew I wanted it to benefit students at Eastern Illinois University. So I contacted Eastern, and Nancy Page, many of you know, was who I worked with. She was very patient because I was very slow at this. While working on the scholarship, though, I learned that Eastern now has a jazz studies program. All we had when I was here was 2 jazz bands. That was jazz to me. There's a whole program now? So, a full program of classes in jazz. Now, I want you to hold that thought. What's going to come up next is you're going to see who I really am. Because you know how when you write something, you go back and you edit, and you go back and you rearrange, and it's constant. Well, what happened next, I did not change in this, and I can prove to you, my printer quit, and I have all sorts of written stuff on here. This is the one part I did not change. The last statement I said was, oh, there's a full program of classes in jazz. Next thing I typed was, Gary would be in heaven with all those classes now. I stopped, I looked up, and with a huge grin on my face, I said, oh, wait, he's already in heaven. And I thought, you can't put that in there. Why not? He's up there playing jazz. That's the way it works. The Gert Music Scholarship has been completed. It is a reality, and it is specifically for jazz studies students. So now I have a 5th thing that stands out for me about Eastern Illinois University, and that's reconnecting. The scholarship has reconnected me with Eastern, and it has reconnected me with jazz at Eastern. It has been a true pleasure to work with the jazz, to meet and work with the jazz studies instructors. They have made me feel welcome here again, and now we're talking about 40 years later, and I feel welcome again, and am back at Eastern. Attending jazz concerts, and I've seen you guys there. And seeing the enthusiasm in those students has also reconnected me with my jazz experience at Eastern Illinois University. Talking with the scholarship recipients and hearing their passion for jazz and music lets me know that Gary's legacy continues in them here at Eastern Illinois University. I'd like to close with a quote by Charlie Parker. He was a saxophonist, composer, and he was the principal stimulus of the modern jazz idiom known as bebop. Music is your own experience, your own thoughts, your wisdom. If you live it, if you don't live it, oh, he'll come down for me now. If you don't live it, it won't come out your horn. I know music lives at Eastern Illinois University. Thank you and enjoy the rest of Legacy Weekend.
Thank you so much. What a touching story, too, for you to share with us. Representing scholarship recipients is Mr. Calvin C. Thomas. Calvin is a non-traditional student, originally from Huntsville, Alabama, where it's much warmer. He went to nursing school in Pensacola, Florida, also much warmer. Then Calvin worked in Indianapolis in an organ transplant program. Still a newlywed, he and his wife moved to Champaign-Urbana, where he works full-time as a float nurse at Carle Foundation Hospital. One day he may be working on the pediatric floor, and the next day he could be working on the surgical floor. Mr. Thomas plans to graduate in 2012. Please welcome him.
Good afternoon. It is an honor and a privilege to be able to stand here today as a Roberta Sane Scholarship recipient. I was extremely humbled to be chosen for this award this year and made it a personal commitment to make the Sane family proud as I hope to walk on graduation day in May 2012.